Hey guys, welcome back to another part. This is what if Naruto abandoned the Leaf Part 2. Like goal for this video is 20 likes. I noticed that I still do not have that many subscribers to get a lot of likes really quickly, so it's gonna be 20 likes. Hope you guys enjoy. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications, share with your friends, and I'll see you in the video. Naruto and Konan would be walking down the streets of Konoha looking around as they noticed that there wouldn't be as much kids playing in the streets as Naruto or when Naruto was in the village. In fact, the place seemed more gloomier than normal. The sky would be darken as you'd be completely gray, the only light being the sun covered with the clouds, making a small light source in the sky. Naruto and Konoha would continue to walk as they would get more information about what Konoha is planning to do. So far, they got that Konoha is going to attack the Sand Village within a month or so. While walking, Naruto would suddenly see a huge crowd as he would decide to walk in. Konoha, seeing Naruto walk in that direction, would also follow Naruto to see what he's looking at. They would arrive in the crowd as they would see a noose or 3 nooses as Naruto would be confused at this. On the news, he would see someone that he wouldn't think would be on there, as he would see his sensei from the academy, Uraka. Oh shit. Yeah. As then he would see some other people. Who should I also put it? Yeah. He only see one noose, and that would have his sensei from the academy, Uraka. That's not his name. Fuck. Damn. That's a problem. Yeah, Uraka. Wait. That's what the? Okay. It's still what? Okay, Uraka. Okay, that's a bit confusing, but yeah, we got nothing of it. As Naruto's eyes would widen, seeing his sensei on the noose, and suddenly the bottom floor would open up, releasing Uraka down as he'd choke to death. Naruto would be in absolute shock as Konoha would notice a change in mood in Naruto, as she could sense a huge power starting to build up within him. Immediately knowing what Naruto was about to do, would immediately grab his shoulder as Naruto would stop what he was doing as he would look over at Konoha as she would shake her head no. Naruto would stop the power as he would look back at his old sensei as a lone tear would fall out of his eye. Now he knows what he's about to do. He'll make sure that Danzo will die, a painful death, as Naruto would turn around walking away as Konoha would look at his back. Eventually she would follow. They would leave Konoha as then they would go on the path towards the Akatsuki base and they would arrive giving the information that they got to Pain. Pain would listen to the information as he noticed that Naruto would have a disgusted taste at Konoha now, more than he did before. Pain would notice that they would attack a month or later and decide to attack Konoha after the war. Naruto would be confused at this as Pain would explain after the war they would lose some members and it would be easy to attack them. Naruto would agree and they would eventually all leave. Pain would be thinking about the capture all Jinchuriki plan as he knows that Naruto has a connection to Gaara and Naruto did tell him that he would like Gaara to join. The problem is if Gaara and Naruto figure out that the true plan is to capture the tail beast, they'd eventually leave the Akatsuki and have a big civil war within it. Pain would think of an idea. Maybe he can put Naruto in a genjutsu of the Rinnegan, but that wouldn't work because Naruto has almost full control over Kurama. Naruto and Kurama's connection wouldn't be friendship, but more like a business partner. Kurama would use Naruto for whatever he needs, and Naruto would use Kurama for whatever he needs. Mostly, Kurama would put Naruto to go kill people that he dislikes, and Naruto would just use his power when in a battle. Naruto would be in the Sand Village after the meeting with Pain, as he'd be walking around looking for Gaara. He'd eventually find Gaara, as Gaara would be sitting in the sand pot alone, as Naruto would smile. Gaara would see this new person, which he doesn't know that it was a disguised Naruto, as Naruto would put on the disguise again, making Gaara realize that it was actually Naruto. Naruto and Gaara would be talking for a bit, and Naruto would bring up the fact that he could take Gaara out of the village. Gaara not knowing what to do because he does have his siblings here, but everyone else hates him. Gaara would be thinking about it really hard, as eventually he would come to the decision to join the Akatsuki, but his sister and brother must come with him. Naruto sighed as he'd agree. Gaara and his sister and brother Kankuro and Tamara would be confused as Gaara would walk in, as he normally doesn't talk to them, but now he is talking to them, saying that they should leave. Following their little brother, they decide to follow, and they'd walk with Naruto all the way to the Akatsuki base. Pain, doing his work, would look up to see Naruto with 3 new people, as he had noticed one of them is the One Tail. The other 2 he wouldn't know, as Naruto would explain that these people are want to join the Akatsuki, as they only wanted to join so they can take down Konoha easier, because they see that Konoha is corrupted as well. Pain would just let them join in as apprentices of Naruto, as Naruto would just accept that. They get their own cloak, except their cloak wouldn't have the red clouds because they are apprentices, as Naruto would start training them after they got the cloaks. 2 weeks would pass as they would figure out that the Chunin exams would actually be starting. Naruto would be confused at the Chunin exams because there's literally about to be a war, but the excuse that Danzo made was that the Chunin exams would be to test the strength of other villages. Naruto would be sent in as one of the Chunin, or one of the Genin, with Gaara and Konan. Pain would say that they need to get information, also maybe even could recruit some people to the Akatsuki. Naruto would just accept this mission as they would walk off. They'd arrive a week early before the Chunin exams, as Naruto would decide to go spy on his friends that he used to have. He'd look around as he'd see Hinata training and Neji training, Nara or Shikamaru just minding his own business, looking into the clouds. Looking in the clouds, Choji just eating in the barbecue, as he would smile seeing all of his old friends, as he'd hope he gets to see them in the Chunin exams and maybe even fight them to see if they got any stronger. If not, he would be very disappointed. As Naruto would arrive back at the hotel that they all rented and go to sleep. Eventually the week would pass and the Chunin exams would begin, as Naruto, Konan, and Gaara would arrive at the Chunin exam building. Entering it, they would look around as they would see everyone in the second floor, which would confuse them until Konan would point at the sign which would say 2. Naruto and Gaara would notice that as they would continue walking on, going to the 3rd floor. Arriving at the 3rd floor, they'd be walking until suddenly someone would jump right in front of Naruto, who would be in the disguise of a Menma, basically. He looks exactly like Menma, basically. Someone would be standing in front of him as Naruto would raise an eyebrow, as Lee would be pointing his finger at Naruto. "I challenge you to a battle," as Naruto would be confused at this. Now you'd be probably wondering why Lee would be challenging Naruto. Well, that's because Neji would actually say that Naruto has a huge chakra source. Same with Gaara, but Naruto has the most chakra in the entire building, which would make Lee want to fight him. Naruto would decline the fight as he would push past Lee and go in. Walking in, he would see his old sensei Kakashi as he would smile, but Kakashi would notice something odd about the one kid that looked at him. He'd think nothing of it as he continued back on his book, as 2 people would walk in, which would be Sasuke and Sakura. They are missing a person, but thanks to Danzo, Sai is now part of their team, and Naruto is gone. Kakashi would feel absolute pain when Naruto left the village, as he feels like he's disappointed his sensei once again. But his mission would be to find Naruto and bring him back to the village. He does have suspicion about how Danzo became the Hokage, and he'll think about it later, but right now his one mission is to get Naruto. Eventually the Sannin and Kabuto would walk up, which would give the cards, as Sasuke would notice the one person with black hair, which would be Naruto, other than himself, of course. As he'd say, "him," as Kabuto would look over at Naruto and wouldn't know the name, as Kabuto would say, "Hey!" Naruto would look in that direction as Kabuto would ask for his name. Naruto would quickly think of a name and he would say Menma. Kabuto would say Menma as suddenly the card would appear. Naruto, being smart and adding a card with his name in it, so they does have fake records of him. Kabuto would start to list off his missions, as Naruto would be doing mostly B-rank missions thanks to the Akatsuki, as everyone would be shocked that Naruto, being a Genin, already did a lot of B-rank missions, which would make Sasuke want to fight him even more. Eventually, Ibiki would arrive and start passing out the tests and explain that if you get caught, then you'll be expelled. Naruto, noticing the little if you get caught, which means that he's able to copy, except he can't get caught. The first test would be easy, Naruto being able to fill it out easily, until suddenly at the end of the test, someone would break into the exam rooms with a sign saying, what in canon, as Anko would arrive, as everyone would be in absolute shock, as Anko would point at her, saying that she'd be the second proctor and meet her at the forest of death. Everyone would start to leave the exam area and go to the forest of death. As they would arrive, Anko would explain the mission and the rules, as she would start handing out papers saying that if they die, it's not Konoha's fault. Now this would be a time where Danzo would actually send Root Anbu into the forest of death to kill anybody that they see that's not part of their village. This is why the Chunin Exam is there, to weaken the military power of every other village. Naruto, Konan, and Gaara would be part of the village hidden in the hidden in the rain. As they would be at their stall and they would see the red light go off, meaning that they should go in. Running in, Naruto would give the scroll to Gaara for his ultimate defense, as Gaara would thank Naruto for it. Continuing on, they would suddenly feel a huge amount of chakra as Konan would stop. Naruto would look over at her as she would have an angry look on her face. Naruto would ask what's wrong, as Konan would say it's Orochimaru, the person who left the Akatsuki, and now he still has the ring. Naruto realized that as they now run over to go find Orochimaru to take the ring back and maybe even kill him. They would arrive on a tree branch as they see Sasuke on the ground holding his neck in pain, Sakura absolutely paralyzed, while Sai would be getting choked out by Orochimaru. Naruto, seeing this, would jump down as Orochimaru would sense chakra coming as he would let go of Sai and jump back, which would lead to Naruto landing in the spot he used to be. Orochimaru would stare at Menma as Menma would stare back at Orochimaru. And suddenly Konan would appear on the side and Gaara would also appear. Konan and Naruto are in disguise, so Orochimaru doesn't know who these people are, as he would think that they're friends of Sasuke, Sakura, and Sai. But suddenly Konan would disperse her genjutsu or disguise, as Orochimaru would immediately be shocked to see Konan. Naruto would see that as he would also disperse, making sure that Sai, Sakura, and Sasuke don't see him, as Orochimaru would stare at Naruto. You're the one who ran away from the village, as Naruto would smile. I could say the same thing to you, Orochimaru, as Orochimaru would smile. Well, it seems you also joined the Akatsuki. As he would stare at Konan. Are you here for the ring? As he would bring up his hand, acting like he was married or something, showing off the ring, as Konan would get an angry look, as she sees Orochimaru as a way of disrespecting pain. As Naruto would get ready in the stance, as Konan would also get ready, Gaara would get ready at the stand, and the battle would commence. Orochimaru would be absolutely getting basically on the defensive, as Konan sending explosive tags, Gaara is using his sand trying to kill him, Naruto using a katana trying to cut him up, and eventually he would notice that the Anbu are coming and immediately decide to run. He would tell them that the fun was over, or it was fun while it lasted, as suddenly he would disappear in a burst of snakes. Konan and Naruto would notice that the Anbu were arriving, as they would also disappear, going towards the tower as they already got their scroll. They would be the first to arrive, as they had opened the scroll to see Kakashi, as Kakashi would stare at him, as he would stare at Menma the most, as Naruto would, notice this, and he'd say, well, I guess we passed the test, as he would walk past Kakashi and enter the building. Konan and Gaara would also follow Naruto from behind, as Kakashi would look over his back to see Naruto, or Menma, enter the building. As Kakashi would have a lot of suspicions now, as he does sound a bit like Naruto, and the whisker marks on his cheeks does give something off about him. Eventually, we go to the preliminaries, as, be the same in canon, except Sai fights Kiba instead. Naruto, Konan, and Gaara just fight someone random. As you're probably wondering, how is Orochimaru going to attack Konoha? Well, that's the thing. They're not. Orochimaru is not going to attack Konoha due to the fact that he is actually working with Danzo. So the Sand Village, or a lot of getting in the forest, actually been killed. So the preliminaries actually won't happen, because a lot of Genis died thanks to Root. And when Orochimaru attacks, it's actually to kidnap a lot of the Genin. So that's what it is, basically. Eventually, they get a month off to go train, as Naruto would be walking around the village, as he would be smiling at the village he once was, but he does notice it is still gloomy. Eventually, he'll decide to go take a bath, as he'd walk on over to the hot springs to notice someone peeping in. Naruto would walk over to him as he'd poke his shoulder, as Jiraiya would look over to see Menma, as he would raise an eyebrow. "Who are you?" As Naruto would raise an eyebrow as well. "Who are you?" As Jiraiya and Menma would just have a stare down, as Naruto would smile as he'd knock on the wood, as Jiraiya would notice what he's doing. As Naruto would disappear, suddenly the women would run out, seeing Jiraiya only there, and start beating on him. Eventually the women would leave, as the Jiraiya would be a bloody pulp on the ground, as Naruto would appear laughing, as Jiraiya would stare at Menma in anger. "What was that for, kid?" As Naruto would smile. "I know who you are." As Jiraiya would stand up. "Then why did you do that?" As Naruto would say, "Because I wanted you to train me." Jiraiya would get a sweat drop. He said, "You're asking for my training after you got my ass kicked?" As Naruto would nod, as Jiraiya would stare at Menma. "Okay. If you can grab this," as he'd bring out a paper. "By the end of the day, then I'll train you." As Naruto would smile, he'd bring out his hand. Bring his hand for a handshake, as Jiraiya would shake it. As Naruto would say, "Okay, if I grab that paper by the end of the day, then you train me, right?" Jiraiya would nod as Jiraiya would disappear, as Naruto would smile. Looking at his hand, he would see a flying Raijin mark on it, as he would smile, saying that this will be easy, as he did learn the flying Raijin after grabbing it from his father's building or house, as he'd just be doing random stuff within the village and getting to know Konan even more, even taking her on a date, which Konan would just say is just a friendly meal with a friend, which Naruto would just say it's a date. Eventually, the day would almost be done, as Jiraiya would think that this kid won't find him, and suddenly he would appear in a black flash, sitting right in front of him, as he grabbed the paper which Jiraiya would be holding. Jiraiya would be in absolute shock, as he'd say that's the flying Raijin, as Naruto would decide that today is the day Jiraiya figures out. The skies would be putting off, as Jiraiya would be in shock to see Naruto, as Naruto would be laughing. Naruto and Jiraiya would be talking about why Naruto left, as Jiraiya would agree with Naruto and decide to be a spy for Naruto in Konoha, so that Konoha can be pure again. Naruto would say that the mission, or would say that they're going to attack Konoha after the war, as Jiraiya would agree with the plan being set out. Eventually, Naruto would get more training from Jiraiya, able to teach Jiraiya how to combine elements into the Rasengan, and Jiraiya would say that Naruto should learn Sage Mode. Naruto would wonder why, as Jiraiya would say that he does have the Nine Tails powers, but if he were to combine Sage Mode with Kurama's power, he'd be literally unstoppable. Naruto would accept this, as Jiraiya and Naruto would go to Mount Miyaboku to go do the Sage training within the entire month. Eventually, the month would pass and Naruto would arrive back at the village. Jiraiya leaving the village to check on his spy network, as he did tell Naruto that half the Genin in the Forest of Death died due to the root, as Naruto would be in anger, saying that's a dirty move, but it would continue on. Eventually, they would arrive at the building which the Three exams are supposed to begin, or the finals, as Naruto would be fighting Neji, and yeah. Eventually, all the battles would begin, and soon Gaara's battle would commence. Gaara would be fighting Sasuke, and Sasuke did get training by Kakashi, and Gaara would start to lose a bit of control, till Naruto would go and put a hand sign, which would suppress the One Tails chakra, which would make Gaara go back to common sense. And Gaara would win the match, making Sasuke lose. At the end, Naruto would be going up against Konan, because Konan defeated Gaara by putting paper bombs in Gaara's sand. As before the battle would commence, Orochimaru would go into action. His plan is actually to kidnap as many Genin to experiment on, so yeah. And that'll be the end of this part. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, turn notifications. Remember, goal for this video is 20 likes, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.